Good morning, Farshad. How are you?
Good morning, Doug. I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. The last time we spoke, it was blazing hot sun out there, and since we're in British Columbia, it's now pouring rain. So, you know, what do they say in Australia? Horses for courses. So,
Yes.
beyond that, it's the weekend though. That's I'm looking forward to that. I've got first. Let's get to business here. By means of introduction, I'm Doug Brown. I'm a shareholder in the Doubleview Gold Corporation. I'm representing average retail investors who have a number of questions for my guest here, Mr. Farshad Shirvani, who's the president and CEO of Doubleview Gold. So I already asked you how you were doing before, Farshad, but welcome, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Okay, well,
Yes,
look,
it's raining outside. And on my way to here, there was a tree on our street and I had to remove it and come to the office.
so you're a lumberman today, not just a miner.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I had to. It was early in the morning. They hadn't removed it. I
Yeah.
hope they have so I can go back home.
All right. Okay, well, look, let's get down to business. I've got some questions. They're largely in two groups, Farshad. The first group relates to your big press release from this week regarding the results from the holes 36 and 37. You've fully assayed those, and you've had results come out. Then my second group relates to what happened when the results came out, which was quite a heavy share price drop, share depreciation. So I just wanted to get your comments on that because I think everyone had expected the opposite to occur. Normally, when your results are as good as they were, you expect the share price to go up, but that did not happen. So I think you're in a good position to answer those. So, and then we'll do some. I'll ask you if there's any open-ended questions or comments you've got. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So the first group, just on the mining. So you released the results on holes 36 and 37. You're better than I at summarizing what you found. So can you just tell investors?
Yes, the significance of these two releases were on the drill hole 36. This is the first time we're showing close to a kilometer hole. It's not actually a kilometer, it's 907, but the whole hole was mineralized from top to the bottom. Mm-hmm. And they had very great values in there. And these values were now included the scandium. For all the other elements, we added the values together to show the strength of this deposit in sort of, if you want to call it, dollar value in exchange for copper or gold, which is copper equivalent or gold equivalent. But we didn't add the scandium, and there are reasons behind it. We are working on recoverability on it. I'm sure we're going to come with the results very soon, and it's on the go. But once we add it, then we have to add that to the copper equivalent and gold equivalent. What amazed me on this one was how significant and how big is the scandium all throughout the hole.
Right.
It's from top to the bottom.
Right.
And the other thing was gold and copper. They were really along the line of a porphyry deposit and our deposit. It's the volume that matters. The grade has to be acceptable. It is more than acceptable. With the scandium is way more than acceptable.
Right. So the key, my takeaway there was the word recovery that you used. It's wonderful that you've got all the scandium, but if it was just sitting there alone all by itself, the cost of extraction, et cetera, might make it economically unfeasible. However, you've got a decent recovery rate of copper in the ore. So the expense of uncovering or digging up the ore for the copper is economically viable. The scandium and other metals like cobalt, which are in there as well, those are just extra, call it cream on the coffee. Is that correct? A good way to put it? Okay.
Scandium, not necessarily. Scandium could have made a deposit on its own to work because the scandium is really high when it comes to length and the volume. It's really high. But in our case, yes, you're right. It goes to waste material. The waste material has to be processed. That turns out to have other minerals like palladium, cobalt, and the other things coming along with it. And those are basically, if you want to call them, yes, they have a capex to put facilities on it, but they're going to be freebies for us. And they create wealth.
Okay.
Without those, we're really fine for copper and gold. But with them, we see more value in the deposit. Let's put it this way.
Okay, I'm going to ask about Scandium later, so I've got to follow up on that, but I'll just hold that off. You mentioned porphyry systems a few times. I think one of the comments that from the investor group that came out was that the results were not what they expected. They were on the low end of what their expectation was. I didn't read the results like that at all. I read them as these are quite acceptable copper. I'm talking copper here. Copper results for a porphyry system, and they're very much in line with the previous holes that you've drilled and assayed and other properties in the vicinity. They're not Doubleview or had. So would you just, from a geology perspective, would you just explain porphyry systems to the average investor who is maybe more familiar with veins of gold and copper and things like that?
Yes. First, I got to make some clarification because I receive calls from investors and they talk even to a geologist out there. They talk to, for instance, one of the questions I had, a geologist approaches one of the investors, prominent investor, and says, hey, the reason drill hole 36 is so high grade with scandium and other minerals in there because Farshad drilled it down the strike of this deposit. It's not really a good term because porphyries almost they don't have a strike because it's impossible to say how they are. They are like a plume and a big cloud of mineralization. And of course, in this cloud, you have ups and downs, highs and lows, and they go together. The other thing about low grade, from the beginning, we knew we're working on a deposit that our limits are defined by 0.1% copper equivalent, if you want to call it, because I have experience. Right now, it's gone even lower. That defines the limits that you have to stay in that limit. We are in the limit. For an example, if a deposit is 1 billion tons and we have 0.15% copper equivalent, just 0.15.
Yeah.
It means nothing above it. Yeah, the value of a billion tons of deposit, I did the math with $4.3 per pound copper. You get a value of about, I did the math here, I got it on my computer. The value in situ is $14 billion. With the 20,000 tons a day, which is impossible, really high, you have 55 years mine life. With 10,000, you have 110 years mine life. This is a very large deposit and value in there with that little amount. So that low grade doesn't work for this one. It may work for a vein deposit. Yes, that favorable geologist was right. Down the strike of it. Yeah. Drill down the strike of a deposit works for a vein deposit, but it doesn't work really for a porphyry deposit. In a porphyry deposit, the lower grade until you are in the acceptable limit is just fine.
Okay, and like we've got a lot of newer investors in the stock, and let me explain that in ways that a younger investor would understand. Think about tequila. Okay, so you take a shot of tequila, you put it in a glass, you put a big block of ice in there to cool it down, and you drink it. The tequila is very visible, the ice is very visible. They're very different, and you know exactly what you've got in terms of the tequila. Yes. That's like a vein of metal. Okay, think about your tequila in a margarita. You take that same amount of ice, you grind it up, you mix it all up, you throw the tequila in, you mix it all up, you add the other stuff. To get the tequila, you need to drink the whole drink, okay? Including all of the ice, as opposed to the shot where you've got the ice separate from the drink. Okay, so porphyry is like a big margarita. So to get all the tequila, you need to extract all the ore, grind up the ore, and then heat it and add chemicals, and then from that you get the metals. So maybe that helps the younger investors or people that are new to mining. Is that a fair enough comparison coming from a geologist?
I have another example. If you have a beef stew with beans and etc., consider beans and beef stew and the water and everything. It's a big porphyry deposit.
Yeah.
You may see locally some of them
Okay.
are higher and lower, but in general, your beef stew is your porphyry deposit, and it doesn't have a strike. Anywhere
Yeah.
you drill it, if you are in the deposit, you're in the deposit. If you're outside, you're outside.
Yeah.
And yes, somewhere it has less meat, more beans,
Yeah.
or the other way around. But no, generally in composition, you see a homogeneous body. It depends how far you go and look at it. And if you go very, very close by, you may see a bubble of air in there too.
Yeah, got it. Okay, well, look, so now that it's the Farshad and Doug cooking show, soon to be on television. Back to business. So the porphyry. So what you're saying overall, the porphyry results that you presented are very much in line with what you expected and what you've seen before, correct?
A little bit more than what I
A little
expected.
bit more. I'm talking copper only. Copper, yeah. Okay, just moving on. So we talked about Scandium before. So could you just talk about the Scandium results? I mean, Scandium is very new for most mining investors. We're mainly involved with copper, gold, etc. Scandium's kind of new. I'd also like to get you to talk about Scandium, the results that you found and presented last week, or I guess this week. But I also want to put that in the context of, again, the move to global decarbonization and electrification. The big news that came out yesterday, I believe, was U.S. President Joe Biden issued a request, I guess, a goal. He set a goal of 50% of U.S. car production by the year 2030 being all electric. And I think that's just going to happen throughout the world. So again, that just sort of feeds into this whole copper, scandium, cobalt, porphyry system that we're here talking about. So getting back to you, could you just talk about Scandium?
Yes, the way Scandium basically came to the market began about November, December last year. Yeah. They started looking at it, and they need to make these cars lighter. And we need batteries that you can recharge it in less than 10 minutes. What they came up with was Scandium-based batteries. And also, if they turn the body into aluminum, add Scandium to it, it's stronger than steel, and it's light, by far lighter than steel. Right. It brings down the consumption. It makes it more efficient. That's why all of a sudden Scandium became the Scandium that we see it today. Right. Scandium is something that, all around the world, technology in the past made extraction really hard. Basically, they didn't want to go after it. Iron is simpler, get it, add other things to it, make steel. It's much easier and much broader. But Scandium is a lot more expensive. But nowadays, when it comes to fast charging batteries, it's very more lucrative. That's why we started looking at it. And once we look at it, our grades are, at some point, sometimes it goes to 147 grams per ton inside the drill hole. This is really high inside the drill hole. And we have very good quantities, length, and amount of it. The only thing is, here's what we have to do. And that's why we are waiting for that. If you want to call, let's say, metallurgy to be extracting the metals, we came, if you look at this, call this a piece of gold. We took it out, we put it in the pot, and we said it's recoverable. We look at the copper and we said, okay, the copper is recoverable. Yeah. Now we have to put Scandium in a box and show it. Then we can really announce and add it to the copper equivalent and gold equivalent. Yeah. Then you will see the value. I did not expect the stock to go like this. It wasn't because the news was anything bad or anything less than what we had before. In fact, it was a lot better than any news release we've had so far.
Well, that's a good segue into the couple of questions that I wanted to ask. So getting off of metals and metallurgy into the share price. which, so just to backtrack, so Thursday morning, you issued a press release with all the results that we're speaking about. You had halted the stock on Wednesday afternoon, pending information to be disclosed or to be released, which was the Thursday morning press release.
Yeah.
Then, we all expected the share to go up, but it went down, and it went down in 20%, I believe, on Thursday. It went down again 20% on Friday, and a combined 26 million shares traded in North America. I'm excluding Germany. 26 million shares. So I thought that's a huge number of shares. So for everybody listening, so Doubleview has 83 million shares outstanding. 142 of those are called free float, because the balance is owned by insiders, by Farshad and other executives of the company. He said 142 million outstanding free floating shares, 26 million shares traded. That is 18% of the free float traded hands on Thursday and Friday. So I thought that is that big or not? It seems big to me. So I went and looked at Amazon. It's a widely held huge stock. In the same period, Amazon traded 1.4% of its total outstanding float. So that says to me that something highly unusual was happening with Doubleview on the Thursday, Friday. So you're much more closer to this than me, Farshad. Could you just have I'd love to hear your comments on what drove this. Okay.
First of all, it wasn't normal. It was not normal. And I have several clues that what happened, but I can't point my fingers on one to say this one was exactly what it should have happened. I received calls from brokers. They were saying, yes, it's very unusual, very abnormal, but what it tells us, someone loves the stock because someone is buying those stocks dropping, and they love it. And I came to this. There are several things that can happen. One of them was bad news. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Not only it wasn't bad news, it was one of the greatest news that I had more than anybody else. My metallurgist, I spoke with him, and he said, "I am so puzzled about this." So he was really puzzled. So what is the next one? It was shorters that started this. Once they shorted, they love to see people looking at the news and using this fear mongering and preying on people that they have less knowledge of this kind of news, and prey on them, let them sell, and they bring it down. And in there, I saw several people, they love the stock and they are collecting a lot of stocks. And I see it in here. They're going from all those hands to the hands of who I don't know. So these are the things, like first was short sellers, second was someone else is at the game. They are benefiting from this to collect the stock. And it's not one person, it's several people, but it's a big, I should say, powerful people that they are getting that. And I don't know who they are. I have no idea where they are. And it's absolutely, I don't receive a call. Someone says, hey, listen, I bought 2 million shares. No, I don't get that at all. In the past, yes, I used to 200,000, 300,000, 500,000. I own 2 million shares. I used to receive calls. Nowadays, I don't. And I know the shares are funneled to some place, and I don't know what it is. So that's all I can tell you.
Yeah. So, I mean, my comment from the investor side is that what I've been reading this week from Doubleview is only good news. The share price is being influenced unnaturally by the actors, the players that you just mentioned. The only way that those folks can succeed is if investors sell their shares to those larger players. Okay, so my message to the other investors out there is, guys, this is a great stock. Hold on to your shares. I know it's hard in this day of immediate satisfaction and convenience. Any whiff of bad news, you need to get out. Don't do that, guys. Just be here for the long run. And the long run is not your lifetime, years and years. I think we're talking a far less period of time than that, like the share price should naturally appreciate far above where it is right now. So hang tight, be calm, use your brains. Don't sell your shares and let these other players take advantage of us. Okay, so that's my message to the
Absolutely.
other investors.
Absolutely. If we don't feed these guys, if we don't feed them, they don't have no playground to play.
Right.
They're not going to take the stock down to down. Whatever they do and sell the stock, right now they may have a chance, but because they right now they own shares, they may start selling to bring it down again and again, because this game hasn't ended. These guys love this shorting this stock.
Right.
And if we don't feed them and have ways to support and be ahead of them so they can't buy the stock, they always will chase our buyers. And I'd like to say, hey, I am the largest shareholder at this time. I don't know if I am still or not, because some people are collecting big stock, but I am the largest shareholder at this stage that I know. And I'm staying in this because I believe in it. I've seen it, and you've seen every time we go out, right now we come with a half a kilometer mineralization. We go a kilometer and a half away from it, and we find mineralization. We have mineralization. This is not chump change for us, and we don't want to go. Help each other out. And if you look at how help can really succeed the evil of this stock market, and people coming from New York who phone me and they tell me they want to have the shares registered, means to hedge it and break your back, is to play something like GameStop. You see how successful they were. They caught them and they caught them, and they had to pay a hefty price for it.
Right on.
Let's do it and get them to pay a hefty price for it.
Right on, Farshad. I can't agree with that enough.
Yes.
Okay. One question and then just an ending comment. There's been a lot of, just not a lot, but a few comments from people who suspect that you and other members of the management team are selling shares. Could you put that to bed, Farshad?
Absolutely, yes. I assure you, myself, of course, I have to report, and my affiliates, we have to report. We have not sold a single share. This is not the value we're looking for. And this is not the value I personally look for. And I'm standing in here, and I want to go to the bitter end to get what I am looking for this deposit, because there's only one chance we get in mining industry, almost all out of 1 million. If you had the chance to spend almost 1,000 times, 1, 2, or 3 of them will create wealth for you. But humongous wealth, it comes again in 1, 2, or 3 of those humongous big ones to be a great one. I believe this project is a very great one, and I won't get this chance again in my time life, unless I'm very lucky and get hit by thunder twice.
Win the lottery twice, yeah.
Or win a lottery twice. No, I haven't sold, or my family, or no one.
Great. Farshad, that's all we wanted to hear. I knew that was the case, but I think hearing it, and if for some reason someone doesn't believe what Farshad is saying, look it up on the website. You can go to the CDAR website, SEDAR. The Doubleview is listed in the United States. It's controlled by or regulated by the SEC. Farshad, or anybody who's on the inside, has to file a report with the SEC on share trades, and that's visible within four working days, I believe. So
yes.
So look, Cedar, you won't see anything from Farshad or the management. Okay. My last question, open-ended. So Farshad, it's been an eventful year. We started the year at 25 cents per share. We ended last Wednesday at $1.04, so a 4-fold increase for investors who just came in at the beginning of this year. And there was some bumpiness, some frothiness along the road this year with the Tultan central government, which you resolved with the communication agreement, et cetera. Now this press release, and now what's happening with the last couple of days. Anything else that you want to just add in to give confidence to investors and talk about a bright, shiny future?
Talking about confidence, I have a true and funny story. I'm very confident. You came this morning and we had a brief talk. You said, Farshad, you seem to be very confident. I said, I never have been more
Right.
confident than this.
Right.
Absolutely. But nothing is worse in these days for me to live with maybe third or fourth largest shareholder and under the same roof with my wife. And she always comes out and says, why did it happen? And I explain, of course, she doesn't know stock. It's hard to explain to her. And she's not happy about it. But I'm saying, hey, listen, you've always trusted me. You mortgaged our house to get this stock. And you trusted me. Now you don't trust me.
Right.
You trust me. Well, I'm very confident on this company. I'm sure we're going to have the best win and bright future for kids. And, you know, hopefully we don't give more Lamborghinis to Wall Street traders anymore.
That's a good way to put it. You know, I'd rather buy a Lambo for my son than for somebody at a hedge fund or wherever. But
yes.
Okay, well, look, that was time well spent, Farshad. I want to thank you just for spending that with me. And I'm sure, I think I addressed all the questions the investors had, at least on the chat board over the last couple of days. More to come. Until then, until our next time to meet, Farshad, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me here, Doug. And hopefully we can have some other session and talk about porphyries, because I really want investors to know about porphyries. It's a very hard and simple topic, but once we put the picture in front of them, they understand it better and they have a better vision on that.
Well, you bring your beef stew and I'll bring my margarita blender and we'll have a party, okay, and talk about porphyry.
Sure, absolutely. Then we get drunk right after that.
Okay. All right, Farshad, have a very nice day. Oh, I like your background there. That is that is the hat. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the view of the hat. Hopefully I go there soon now.
Right on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Farshad.
Bye-bye.
Bye.